Welcome to the Royals with me, Kate Mancy.
And me, Roya and Kate. Today, Royal Ascot 2025, we've got some cracking guests on this week's episode. We're going to be talking to the one and only Ailsa Anderson, former press secretary to Queen Elizabeth II. And I don't think anyone knew more about horses than her. And Ailsa's going to tell us a lot more about that.
And we'll be speaking with a remarkable father-daughter jockey duo.
So we've got Daniel Fletcher, who is the creative director at Royal Ascot. He's going to be telling us all about the fashions and the lookbooks.
Fantastic. And Brough Scott, of course, the legendary racing journalist.
Who's got some hot tips.
He's got some hot tips. He knows everything about Ascot. He's got all the stories and he's been in the game since 1971.
Welcome to the Royals, Royal Ascot 2025.
And up first, we have managed to nab Brough right now, Brough Scott.
Let's go and chat to him. Well, we're now joined at the parade ring by the brilliant Brough Scott, racing journalist.
Aged Brough Scott.
Not aging.
No.
Not, you just told
Young
me
at
you were still riding until 70.
Oh yeah, but
Wow.
it's not very difficult really. It's like riding a bike. As long as the horse is well behaved, after you only sit on it, that's all you have to do.
Well, yes. Anyway, it's wonderful to have you on. Thank you. Racing journalist, author, former jockey, Times contributor. We're delighted to have you on the Royals.
Yes, absolutely delighted to see you here. But tell us, what's the big story of the day, and why is it important? Why is Ascot so important this year of all years? Do you think, Brough?
The royal procession is 200 years old.
It is.
This
And
year.
actually, I read a long piece. I think it's perhaps too long. I looked at it in the paper this morning, in the Times this morning. But when it started, it's like the idea was to show George IV to his people, because to try and keep popular. And in a sense, that's still the same idea. But actually, racing needs the royals every bit as much as the royals might need racing. But if you think about it, the royal procession is one of the most iconic single events in British life.
Yeah.
And if you think of Britain from abroad, of the images you have of Westminster Abbey and I don't know, the Lake District, York Minster, what else we're going to have? But the royal procession is one of the things coming up at Ascot.
So it projects for UK PLC as much as for the world of racing.
Why is it important that the King is so visible at these events, and how do you think that's going to be taken on by the Prince of Wales?
Well, that's from racing's point of view, that's always been the big situation, because as you know, the Queen was the single greatest benefactor that horse racing in the world, certainly in Britain, ever seen.
She loved it.
And by the end of her reign, she'd gone absolutely ape. I mean, she had more horses, more racehorses, and more trainers at the end of her life she ever had before. But obviously, when the King took over, people forget now. You see him, in his 70s and been battling with cancer and stuff. He was an action man, Prince.
Yeah.
He was skydiving, he did all sorts of stuff. I can remember, and he was a pretty good skier. But anyway, would he follow on? And there was racing was very much holding its breath. And then would he bother go on with the studs?
Everyone was holding their breath at change of reign to see whether the King, who, yes, he'd been a jockey in his heyday, but he'd never really shown the interest in racing, not even close to that of his late mother.
No, and everyone knew he couldn't, but would he hang on at all? What we did know is the Queen was pretty keen.
Yeah.
We knew that. But the key day was the 2023 rather. He came to Ascot first time. Everyone was very tense really in the racing world and perhaps wider world. And he had a horse called Desert Hero.
Yes.
Which won in dramatic fashion, and he was...
He burst into tears.
Well, you'd had to be made of stone not to be thrilled, because
It was homebred, wasn't it? Bred by his
homebred
mother.
by the mother, and also it weaved through from an impossible
Yes.
position, and it got in the last stride. Well, I hope they all backed it, but I mean...
It was lovely, actually. Both the King and the Queen burst into tears. You could really see what it meant to them. I think, the heritage, the history, the family link.
Kind of sealed the new reign as well, didn't it?
And of course, remember, it's not just this outward visible bit here, but if you've got a stud and your own horses, the real fun of the whole thing is remembering the horses, the mothers and the children and all the rest of it, and going to the studs and going to the stable yards, all that, which is on your own. I mean, again, I remember being at Sandringham once and doing something, and the Queen just came around the corner because that was her world. And he would enjoy that. But of course, he is, by any ordinary standards of 70, whatever he is, an exceptionally busy man.
He
And
is.
there's lots
but
of other.
still finding
he
time
loves
to come every day this week.
Is he coming every day?
He's coming every day, we're told.
Well, it's remarkable. I mean, again, the most
And again,
important.
no one expected that before, sort of a couple of years ago, did they?
Oh no, absolutely not. It was very much. I thought if he was to come, a couple of days would be fine.
Were you surprised or interested, or thought it was a good thing that he put the late Queen's horses into the joint names of himself and Queen Camilla? Because she is much more on it than I think him. Isn't
Yeah,
she?
I think it's again, it's a great believer in transparency. I mean, it's two things that are not necessarily in the same sentence as transparency of the royals. But,
Discuss. That's another podcast. We'll get you on for that one, Brough.
But no, the fact is, I think that's a very good idea. But also, I think by any reasonable standards, this number of years into the reign, you've got to be very uncharitable or a very harsh Republican not to think that both the King and Queen's hearts are in the right place. Don't you think?
That's a resounding endorsement, isn't it?
Well, I think it's true. I think, again, if you didn't, plenty of people, because of all the history and everything else, sort of rather were, I don't know what sort of a king he's going to make, and I don't know about this and that. I think they've played their role as such. That's the feeling I get around the country. What do you
And
think?
I think this is interesting to see this week, isn't it? Because this is a point you were just saying, that this is a week in which we see them every day in a way that we don't the rest of the year. It's quite an extraordinary week in the royal calendar in that respect, and it's a chance for them to connect with the public and be seen, to see other people, and we also see them enjoying themselves. Those pictures of the late Queen, they were always the best pictures of her when she won a race or when she was at the races, and they let their guard down, so the public actually get to see them a bit more as they are,
but as they'd like to be seen, because basically in the past, of course, this 200 years ago, I mean, the sense of privilege still exists. On the other hand, there's a desperate attempt, isn't there, to make the monarchy connect through and to try and make things more, the people in the carriages and that sort of thing, make it look less of we're looking down on the poor old plebs.
Do you think it does? Because I mean, there are glorious images of the royal carriages sweeping, coming through the Golden Gate, sweeping up the course, coming into the parade ring, and there's lots of cheering. But do you think those images are modern and relevant to most Britons today?
Well, they're absolutely not modern. They're 200 years old. But they are. The point is, it's the traditions you can keep. I mean, it's like having a stately home. You want to make sure that sort of inside it feels okay.
Yeah.
And it does the sense of them coming through here. Does that actually say, well, it's part of our great tradition, and if you think the royal family are doing their hearts in the right place, I think you can accept it. If you think they're just having a privileged time, then you're going to have a problem.
Why do you think, Brough, you touched on it earlier, that the royal family and patronage is so important for the racing industry? Expand on that a bit. Why is the patronage of the King and Queen so important to racing?
Frankly, in the past 30 years, it is because, amongst other things, but it's hugely important financially, it has attracted the huge benefactors from the Middle East. It seemed mad the amount of money they were spending, but on the other hand, they spent the same amount of money in Formula One. They wouldn't necessarily have won as much, and they certainly wouldn't have been in the royal carriage or having pictures of them shaking hands with the Queen when they won a trophy.
So it's that link with the royal family, because of course there is racing at Meydan, there is racing in America, we've just had the American Classics, there is racing all over the world. Is it the royal link with British racing that makes it?
Horse racing as such was not only codified here first, but it was also the actual thing, the dog, the thoroughbred, the horse that you see there, that thoroughbred was developed, and here, that dog was it's a British thoroughbred. It is the fastest weight-carrying creature in the world, and it's Britain's greatest gift to the animal kingdom.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a joy.
It's a really busy day for you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brough. So, Kate, you know how much I love this week, Royal Ascot.
Yes, you have mentioned it a few times.
Love the horses. Someone else who loved the horses was the late Queen Elizabeth, probably one of the greatest patrons of the sport the world has ever seen.
Yep.
And who better to dig into that more with than her former press secretary, Ailsa Anderson.
Fabulous, Ailsa. Here we are at the parade ground with Ailsa Anderson.
Very special guest. Now, Ailsa was Communication Secretary to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth for many years.
That makes me sound old.
No, it makes you sound in the know. And you knew her very well, and you knew her love of horses very well.
Oh my golly, I tell you, Royal Ascot was one week that come hail or high wind, the Queen would never miss, ever. This was the highlight of the royal calendar, I think.
I just was reminding myself this week there was a brilliant, I think it was in 2017, where her commitment to racing, I don't think I've ever seen it more. She did the state opening of Parliament, she delivered the Queen's speech at Parliament, helicoptered to Royal Ascot and was in her carriage for possession at 2
Chop her in.
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't surprise me at
Nothing
all.
would have stopped her.
And was there a lot of chat about it beforehand? Was it the topic of conversation for weeks
Oh
beforehand?
gosh, yes,
What did she want
absolutely.
to know?
Outfits, planning of outfits, horses, who was going to go to the lunch party, who was going to go into the carriages coming into to Ascot. Yes, lots and lots of chatter. Really.
How much planning goes into something like the royal procession and who goes into the carriages each day?
A lot. But of course, it's down to the Queen. It's entirely up to her as to who goes into what carriage. But she, she wanted to make it fair. It's a mixture of family and of friends, and actually saying thank you to the people who've helped her throughout the year.
Brough Scott was reminding us earlier that 2013 was a very special year for the late Queen because she won the Gold Cup with her filly Estimate, which was the first time a reigning monarch had ever won the Gold Cup. And there are those fantastic images of her sitting with John Warren, her racing manager, getting very excited as Estimate came through. Were you here with her that year?
I was indeed. And of course, it was the coronation year as well, so celebration of the coronation. So what a year for that to happen.
And what was it like when she won?
Electric, absolutely electric. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. I mean, the gods were on our side that day.
And the crowd loved it. And the video footage of when she came down into the parade ring to be presented with the trophy by the Duke of Kent. And the crowd just absolutely erupted. They were so thrilled. It was so nice to see.
And what a wonderful thing to happen, especially at the twilight of her reign as well.
Could you take us through what a day looks like for the Queen? Because obviously we see the carriages turn up here, but it begins a long time behind the scenes before that.
Of course, it's all the prep. It's the lunch beforehand, so she will have invited guests to
At
lunch
Windsor
at Windsor
Castle. Right.
Absolutely. Then they will drive to where the carriages are, mount in the carriages, and then of course it's that lovely ride, especially when the sun is shining like it is today, through to the parade ring, and then with all the crowds.
Why was the royal procession, and still is, I mean, this year we're celebrating the 200th anniversary of the royal procession, started by George IV. The Queen was such a fan of it, very rarely missed it. Why do you think it was so important to her? Was there something about the sort of visibility of the royal family in the public, or tradition?
But it's also all about pomp, isn't it? It's all about, Britain of what we do best, and actually seeing these beautiful carriages, which are beautifully maintained by the Royal Mews, processing here at Ascot. I just think it makes a celebration of all that is British.
So it wasn't just her kind of personal love of the horses, there was a very kind of significant kind of
absolutely.
public show that she was obviously aware of.
Yes, absolutely.
taking part in.
And also that she wanted to share this with the public. So what a greater way of doing it, and actually processing in the carriages. And people could, of course, famously bet about what colour outfit the Queen was going to wear, whether it would be her hat or her outfit.
It's another thing to bet on.
And absolutely.
I mean, how would she place a bet?
It would be done through the aquarium. But yes, absolutely.
So actual cash was handed over for the Queen to bet, like anybody else here today.
Absolutely.
We
She
love
just didn't
that.
place it herself, but yes,
We
the
love
race
that.
cards were
Following
there.
the protocol.
There's a brilliant picture of her once with a wodge of notes, I think, and her just having won and looking absolutely thrilled with it. Not sure what to do with it, probably.
I was talking earlier this year to the trainer Nicky Henderson, who's a jump trainer. He knew the Queen Mother very well. He trained a few horses for the Queen as well. And he said it was lovely talking to him about the Queen, his relationship with her, because he said she used to ring him every Sunday. And sometimes, if she didn't have a full diary, she'd be on the phone for about an hour, talking through everything, the form, the history, the breeding. And he said he always felt when he spoke to her whenever he saw her at race meetings, occasionally she came for lunch, he felt that racing was an amazing for her, a sort of form of relaxation and a sort of a way away from the main day job.
I think
Can you
that's right.
talk a little bit about that?
I think so racing is a leveler, isn't it? It's for prince and pauper. You see the crowds at Ascot today, and it's not everyone in their fancy hats and it's for the public as well.
Yeah.
And I think it is a great leveler. It's where everyone can get together. Yeah, I think that's what she enjoyed. She enjoyed the spectacle of it, and something that everyone could get behind.
And behind the scenes in the rest of the year, tell us a bit about the Queen and her relationship with her racing managers. John Warren springs to mind.
So close.
How often was she down looking at the new horses, the foals?
Well, of course, famously, she had CCTV cameras put inside the stables at Sandringham so she could actually view foals being born.
I love that.
I mean, how
Fantastic, isn't
amazing
it?
is that? You know, morning, noon or night.
And
she'd have
she
this-
said to the stud manager, "Wake me up, whatever time of day or
Yeah,
night it
so
is,"
she
'cause
could see it.
Yeah. People used to say that John
That
Warren...
is commitment, isn't it?
People used to say that John Warren, who is still racing advisor now to their majesties, was pretty much the only person who, whatever the Queen was doing, could get through on the phone.
You may say that, Roya. I couldn't possibly comment.
He didn't deny it when I asked him about it last year. Which I think just sort of speaks to just how important a part of her life racing and her horses were.
Absolutely. Horses and dogs, animals, all shapes and forms. As long as they had 4 legs, she'd be happy.
It's such a joy to speak to you
And
today.
you,
Elsa,
Such
thank
a
you
pleasure.
so much for joining us.
Thank
A joy to see you. Thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
us.
Thank
Lovely
you,
to see
ladies.
you. Thanks,
Bye.
Ailsa.
So, Kate, we're just a couple of hours away from the first race. The racegoers are pouring in to Royal Ascot. They've come from all over the country, up from London on the train. They've come from all over the world. There are a lot of international people here. But today is as much about the fashion as it is about the horses.
That's right. So that's why we're going to take a short stroll and go and see Daniel Fletcher. He's a fashion designer and also the new creative director of Royal Ascot.
So we're delighted to be joined by Daniel Fletcher, returning for the second year in the role of creative director of Royal Ascot. So you're in charge of all the fashion, Daniel, is that right?
I'm in charge of influencing the style of Royal Ascot.
I see.
Yeah.
So what's the influence this year? What are the styles? What are you seeing?
So one of the things I do in my role is to create a lookbook, and the lookbook is supposed to show people what they can do within the dress codes, because the dress codes remain the same, but there are so many things that you can do within it, and we put this lookbook together, and actually I can already see some of the influences out in the wild today. So
In the wild.
as soon as I came in, I just saw an abundance of polka dots.
There you
and
go.
That was one of the
Kate
key...
I
has
got the
read
memo.
lookbook.
Yeah, and that was one of the key trends in the lookbook.
And
so
Judge High as well.
Yeah,
Marvellous.
exactly. You know, it's not just for the girls.
So tell us about the dress code. So why do we have a dress code? What is it? And how strict are you on enforcing that?
So there are 4 enclosures, and each one has a slightly different dress code. So the most strict one is the royal enclosure. So it's either, the options there are a morning suit with top hat, black shoes, full waistcoat, tie, shirt, or you could wear a dress where the dress and the straps have to be a minimum of 3 centimeters, no open backs, no halter necks, below the knee. So, you know, it's
And that
a little
hasn't
bit,
changed
and
for
that
years,
hasn't
has it?
changed. One change that was made a few years ago was that the introduction of a navy morning suit, which
Right.
I'm
Oh.
sporting today.
Wow, hold the front page.
Yeah, but actually there are many, many things you can do within that to inject your own personality. So, you know, today I've opted for all the pastels, mixing those together under my morning suit. And
There's
you know,
quite a lot of vintage going on here. Talk us through.
yeah, I mean, well, so this is a vintage top hat, and then also when I went for the fitting, they were teaching me the importance of how I should wear it on my head, and to
Right.
do that, they gave me this wonderful cane, which should keep me upright all day and make sure that I'm not, you know, wobbling around.
Oh, that's what it's for, to keep your posture.
Yeah, for my posture, yeah.
Okay, marvellous. And the shoes, they are really
The
quite
shoes.
marvellous. Black shoes with a kind of a white stitching around them.
They're kind of a modern take on a brogue.
We're here, obviously. It's a very important day for horse racing. It's a very important day for the royal family. The royal family, great ambassadors for British fashion, for international fashion. How important is that partnership between the royal family and fashion at Royal Ascot?
I think, you know, the royals undoubtedly have such an impact on fashion. You know, if Kate wears something, then it's going to sell out. And I think what's so special about Royal Ascot is that everyone dresses up. It's such a unique occasion. And yeah, I love to see people embracing that, and the royals themselves.
When all's said and done, who do you think will emerge as sort of the royal who is synonymous with Royal Ascot? Is it the Princess of Wales? Is it the late Queen?
I think it could be one of the kids, one of the up-and-coming kids.
you?
Princess Charlotte, you know?
Yes.
I feel like in a couple of
Yes.
years, everyone will be like, oh, look what Charlotte's worn to Ascot.
Love that.
Oh, your fashion histories are marvellous as well, because you've worked for Victoria Beckham, you've designed for Harry Styles. You know,
Yeah.
is there a lot of pressure when you're picking an outfit for somebody else or trying to design for somebody else?
For me, one of the things I always love is if it's a collaboration with someone and we kind of work on it together. We've done a couple of people for Ascot in previous years, and that's always fun because, you know, there's some rules that we've got to follow, and it pushes me a little bit creatively. You know, how are we going to do a hat? How, you know, make sure that the dress is the right, you know, right dress for the dress code. So, it's always fun.
Would you ever like to dress as a member of the royal family, and if so, which one?
Ooh.
And what would you put them in?
I mean, it would have been Diana, of course.
Yes,
That would have been the
of
dream. Otherwise, who would I like to dress? I wouldn't mind doing something for Harry, but I don't know if we're going to see him here or not.
Wow, I would
We'll
love
yeah,
to see
let's-
Harry
Pigeon
in
across-
those shoes
we'll
and
send a
that
pigeon-
tie
pigeon
and the
post
vintage
across
top.
the
Yeah.
Brilliant answer. It's so nice to speak to you today. It's so many outfits to come and have a look around.
Absolute joy. Will you hang on with us, Dan? Because actually, we've got a few people here we'd love to talk to, and we'd love to get your views on their outfits.
Absolutely. I
And
can
there's
see some
very
smashing
strong fashion
ones.
coming. We just welcome them in here.
Wow, look at this. This is
Wow,
amazing.
welcome to the Royals. You look absolutely amazing. Who are you? What's your name and what are you wearing?
I'm Anushka Lancaster, and I'm wearing a dress by Rebecca Valance and an incredible headdress by Carrie Courtney.
I mean, the headdress is spectacular. Where did you get all this from?
So I bought the dress about a year ago, and then my friend Carrie is so talented. I sent her a photo of the dress, and she came up with this incredible. mermaid-esque creation to match the dress.
It's got kind of a Liberace feel about it. It's it's fab.
Yeah. So for people who can't see what you're wearing, it's a kind of a beautiful long floor-length frock of shells, very kind of under the sea theme. You've teamed it with this amazing kind of shell necklace and then shells on top, this huge sort of edifice on top of your head. Is that heavy to wear?
It
in the
is
sunshine?
quite heavy. I can't lie. It's quite heavy, but it's kind of worth it. Because
You look
I'm
stunning.
I'm a huge cheerleader for her and her millinery, and every year I wear Carrie's works of art.
It's absolutely spectacular. How important, I mean, I can tell, how important is the fashion to you versus the racing today?
I think the fashion comes first for me. Unfortunately, I do love the racing and I'm crazy about horses. I've always been a horse rider. But I think for all the ladies here would agree, it's just so nice to have an occasion to dress up for, because I feel we don't get many of these occasions anymore. So it's definitely the highlight of my calendar.
I think you wouldn't be the only one to say that. I think for a lot of people here today, the fashion is first.
And what did you make of this outfit, Daniel?
I think it's fabulous. I mean, I love the headdress. I think if you can't dress up like this for Royal Ascot, then when can you, hey? And you've really embraced it and you look fabulous.
Well, you look absolutely splendid, beautiful, stunning. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You
Nice to
too.
meet you.
Enjoy the day. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about your outfit.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I live in London, but originally I come from Ukraine. And my outfit, so I got it from one website. It was like a few months ago, I don't even remember. And I love this headpiece. It's my second time being at Royal Ascot. Today I also got a compliment that I look like Queen Victoria, that she was also small, short, and also had a similar outfit.
Small but stylish.
Yes, and my name is also Victoria.
Perfect.
Well,
You
lovely,
look absolutely
very
fabulous
regal.
and have a wonderful day's racing.
Thank you very much, you too.
Absolute joy to talk to you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you again next year.
Yeah,
And we'll
absolutely.
check out the
Yeah.
changing trends.
Fantastic. Thank you for
Fabulous.
having
Thanks,
me.
Daniel. So we're nearly done here, but before we go, we've got two extra special guests. Two jockeys, father and daughter.
A bit of a double act. Former jockey Jamie Osborne, who's now a trainer, and he's got plenty of runners here this week.
And who's back by popular demand because we had him on the show last year.
we had some lively feedback from some of our listeners.
He was critiquing your riding in a very positive way, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, nothing has changed in the past year. And we're joined by his daughter, Saffie, who
And
is...
she's doing incredibly well.
She's
isn't she?
dynamite. She's a rising star of flat racing, and they're quite the double act. So let's go and have a chat. Well, I'm delighted to welcome
No, you're not.
back to the Royals. Quite a double act, and we haven't even started yet, but you'll see what I mean. Jamie Osborne, lovely to see you back. Back by popular demand on the Royals. Jamie, for listeners who don't know him, is a trainer based in Lambourne, former national hunt jockey, former, believe it or not, Times racing columnist. If you go way back in the archives, you find Jamie's columns.
I'm not as stupid as you think I am.
There
I don't
are-
think you're stupid. I just didn't think they'd allow you to have one. I thought it'd be too controversial.
Yeah, it was.
He
It was
can't
good.
remember how many Grand Nationals he rode in, he says, but I can tell you that in 1 year, I better get this right or I'll be in trouble. 1996-97 season, you won 131 races. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yes,
You've done your,
I think it is.
I have no idea.
But welcome For the first time, the other half of the double act, Saffie Osborne. Saffie is one of the rising stars of flat racing. She was top jockey in the Racing League for the last 3 years running.
Thanks to me.
Oh, you sound like one of those parents now that's like they've only got anywhere because of me.
Well,
It's awful.
Nepo kid.
That's a really
I'm
awful
still doing
trait
the
to
introduction
have.
and off they go. Last year, Saffie became the first female jockey to win a race at Meydan in Dubai on Ouzo. I know it was trained by you, Jamie, but actually it was a fantastic ride. Welcome, Saffie Osborne. The double act, the Osbornes.
I don't think I want to be known as the double act, to be honest.
Tough, you are. So
Hasn't there been a double act called the Osbornes before?
they're not as good as you. So, I mean, Jamie, coming to Royal Ascot, I mean, we talked a little bit about it last year, but what makes this meeting so special?
Well, look at it. I mean, it's, since the revamp, I think it's the most spectacular venue. It's probably the most recognised meeting globally, anywhere. It takes a very good horse to win here. Everybody wants to be here. You know, in spite of the fact that the prize money isn't actually as good as it should be. Everybody wants to be here, and you see the number of people from around the world that want to buy horses to run here or bring horses from their own nation to be here. There's just something rather special about it, and I think one of the reasons that it is so special is the royal involvement.
Last year, we heard a little bit from you about what it was like riding for the Queen Mother. Of course, you rode for her for quite a few years towards the end of your career. Is that right?
Yes, I was lucky enough to ride for Her Majesty the Queen Mother.
And we heard about what a character she was, and she did sound like quite a character. And Saffie, I know that you rode for the late Queen.
I did, and it's as a jockey, it's an unbelievably special feeling when you get to put on the royal colours.
Why? What does it mean?
Because
Yeah, why?
I suppose as a British person, it's such an honour, and especially sort of my grandparents never come racing ever, and they came racing that day because it was such a special thing, and it's just a real honour to put those colours on. There's certain colours that you watch growing up, sort of in racing, the likes of Godolphin, Shadwell, all these amazing huge owners, as well as the Queen. I think I remember sort of growing up, and one of the first Royal Ascots that I really watched was Ryan Moore winning on Estimates.
Yeah.
And it was just the most amazing thing to watch, and her reaction was
I
so
mean, the emotion was incredible. I mean,
yeah, amazing, because a sort of a Queen's horse winning the Gold Cup at the Royal Meeting is so special, and I think it's just those are colours that I've watched growing up that have been so successful and so poignant in British racing, obviously, that it was really special to be able to put them on.
Now, I get to see the two of you occasionally together at home at Lambourne, riding out, and behind the scenes, it's quite a fun dynamic most of the time. Can you talk a little bit about how important the relationship is between trainer and jockey, and who gets their way? I kind of know the answer to this, but I'd like our listeners to hear both of your perspectives on this.
What it's like working with your own children. Carry on, Saf.
However much he likes to be sarcastic and tries to be funny,
You sarcastic.
We have a very good relationship, because even when we decide we want to scream at each other or disagree on something,
I can confirm that occasionally happens.
Yeah. 2 minutes later, it's very much, we don't really discuss that, we just kind of move on, and then 2 minutes later is, are you, all good? Yeah, all good.
When you're riding in the big races, like at Royal Ascot, obviously we've seen you in Dubai and more recently in those huge races in America, which they were. Is there an added dimension of pressure or pride riding for your father?
I don't think so. I feel completely relaxed riding for him. I think there's something to be said for riding horses.
Because she knows she's not going to get the sack.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I was about to say. There's something to be said for knowing when you have a job, there's always this added pressure of feeling like I need to sort of prove that they've made the right decision in choosing me. With Dad, I feel completely relaxed riding for him, because I know that I'm not scared to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because
Does that make you a braver rider?
yeah, it does. And I think the jockey that rides the best is the one that rides with the most confidence. And I think trainers that fill you with confidence are the best, because you're not scared to make those mistakes. If you do, you're very happy to come in and say sorry.
Last year when we asked Jamie about what it was like way back in the day being a jockey in the training, Jamie basically sort of said there wasn't really much training. He didn't really do much, just turn up at the races. That's kind of fair. It's quite different now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the
Did
kind
I
of...
say that?
Pretty much, yeah. Tell me about what it takes to get here to Ascot in terms of sort of mental and physical training.
As you know, obviously having ridden in a race, it's you have, even to get your license, have to
Very
pass
underrated rider, Roya.
Yeah, very under. We keep trying to persuade her to get her amateur license out. I'm
Thinking
still pushing for it.
Still thinking about it.
But you have to undergo a fairly physical fitness test. But I think not even that prepares you for how fit you need to be to ride racehorses. It's very physically demanding on certain areas of your body, and I think that you get a lot stronger the more you do it. I think now I'd hope that I'm at a point that no one would ever look at me and pick me out as a weak link.
It's interesting. Well, you've always said, we've talked about it before, we've never really made much, and you've never really made much about being a female jockey, because you've always said, I don't really ride, I ride quite like a boy anyway.
Yeah.
But there still aren't. It's still an industry, and it's still a sport dominated by men, both in terms of trainers and jockeys. So being a very successful female jockey, what are the challenges, if there are any?
I think the one thing I would say about female jockeys is a lot of women take longer to get stronger.
Right.
And you can get a license from the age of 16, and it takes girls quite a bit longer to get to that point where you're physically as strong. And I think that probably there's quite a few female jockeys that get written off before they get to that point, and I suppose I was very lucky that
you had me.
I had Dad to supply those rides to allow you to, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I do a lot of work in the gym still. I'd run most days or cycle.
Just like I used to do.
And
not.
But the reality is that you only get really to that really strong point when you're riding every day, riding 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 horses every day.
How many runners do you have this week?
7.
And is Saffie riding all of them?
No. I've jocked her off a couple.
Well, no, that's a
You've
lie.
got other rides.
I've got other rides.
Jamie's version is he's jocked you
Actually,
off.
no, that's not true.
The truth is she's
No.
riding for other people.
No,
I'm riding his.
She is riding for other people, but of my 7 runners, there's 2 races where I've got 2 in the same race.
Right.
So obviously, clearly she's good, but she can't ride them both.
She's not that good.
She's not that
I
good.
would have picked wrong.
What would having an Ascot winner mean to you, Saffie? I know that it's still eluded you. It's only a matter of time. You have a long career ahead of you. What would an Ascot winner mean?
Well, she needs to hurry up. It might
Yeah,
not be that long.
I'm not, all the jockeys in the weighing room keep taking the mickey out of me, because they always keep joking that my strike rate at Ascot is phenomenal, but then they go, no, Saffie, this is Royal Ascot. Your strike rate at Royal Ascot is really bad. So I haven't had a Royal Ascot winner yet, but
2025, it's your year.
2025 is the year, I hope, but it would be unbelievably special. I suppose every European jockey, probably around, even sort of jockey worldwide, dreams of riding Royal Ascot winners, and it's where you want to be.
When you know you're riding in front of a crowd that includes the King and Queen, does that make any difference to when you're riding? I mean, are you aware of that?
It's probably not something I'm thinking about when I'm getting on the horse, but
unless it's owned by the King and Queen.
Yeah, unless I was stood with them in the parade room.
Ooh, His Majesty's watching me.
I'm looking up to the royal box, checking if they're watching me. No, it's obviously not something but I think when you look back on it, it's obviously something that's incredibly special. The whole atmosphere around this meeting, like when you come back in and you see the crowds, and I think Ascot some days on a normal sort of on Royal Ascot Trials Day, for example, on a Wednesday, it kind of feels like it feels very empty. And then you get to the royal meeting and it's absolutely packed full of people, and you're sort of cantering down to the start, and you look, because if you glance over to the grandstand you can't see any part of the floor, it's just hats, and it's a very special place, and there's just a really magical feeling about it.
Okay, well listen, it's an absolute joy to have you back, Jamie Osborne. It's a joy to have you with us for the first time. I hope you'll join us again.
No, thank
I
you.
hope 2025 is your year, for your first. I've got confidence.
Me too.
I love occasionally riding out with you, so can we ride out again soon, please?
Definitely.
You actually talk better than I thought you would. Actually, not bad.
Good luck with all your runners, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you very much.
are getting to the end of the first day of Royal Ascot. What a day it's been. It's been glorious.
It
We've
has.
spoken to so many people. We've seen some crazy hats, seen the royal family out in their finery. What do you make of that this first day?
Do you know what? It's still, even though this happens every year and there's a sort of certain amount of regularity about it, the royal procession, the things that you can sort of set your watch by, it still feels so special. And when you talk to people about it, whether it's the race goers, the trainers, the jockeys, people here like enjoying the fashion, everyone just talks about how Royal Ascot is, it's more special than any other meeting because of the royal link, because it looks so beautiful. It's just got that edge, hasn't it?
And I think every year feels fresh, doesn't it, and different in a different way. I mean, this year we've got the 200th anniversary of the carriage procession. You know, we saw the the 9th Duke of Wellington in that carriage procession. And 200 years before that, the first Duke of Wellington travelled down with George IV. You know, it's essential kind of bringing back to this kind of British history aspect of the day as well. Meanwhile, everyone's out having a good time. You know, there's a significance to it, and there's also just a sense of fun and people enjoying the summer.
What's been your highlight so far that you've seen today? Has it been a hat? Has it been a dress? Has it been a horse?
I think it was the royal procession.
Yeah.
I think it was the carriage and those brilliant greys driving bringing the royal family into the parade ring just right here. And there were 3 cheers for the king. He would have liked that because it's never guaranteed what reception you're going to have as a member of the royal family. And there was a real welcome for him. I thought there was a lot of love there for the king today.
And he'll enjoy that, and he'll get that every day because he's here every day this week.
Every day this week. You know, we're still being told that there's no change to his cancer treatment. Having said that, you know, he's here every day. So
it'll be encouraging for the racing industry that even though we know he's very busy, he's got a very full diary, he's still prioritising his racing every day during this week.
What a week.
What a week. Well, we've loved it. It's been great fun. It's been fashion. It's been horses. It's been galloping thoroughbreds.
Do we get a glass of something fizzy now?
Well, we
Surely.
definitely do. We're back here tomorrow, aren't we, Kate?
We are.
For fun.
Can't wait.
For the Royal Editor's Day Out.
Yes.
For the jolly. No recording.
No. Fabulous. Can't wait.